And then I remember there was one time that we used to babysit 5 children. We watched them on the weekends, and just had gotten paid for the week, weekend rather, and went over to the former friends. Her mom was there, and at that time we had been, because she didn't have much money, we didn't either, but we went ahead and we took some food and we'd grill out over there and we'd all, eat and visit. But it seemed like we went right from work over there that day, and later had discovered her mom was in my car. Sounds kind of familiar. But didn't realize until afterwards, might have been like later that night or the next day, probably the next day, that my paycheck, my money was gone. I was paid in cash and my money was just gone. Whole, week paycheck gone. Mother with a young child trying to just get by, and here she went and she stole my money. Well, I said something to my former friend, it was my friend at the time, and she said how, well, her mom had stolen money, from her and stuff, and that she'd talked to her. Well, yeah, she said she talked to her, but then she just came back and said, well, she said she didn't take it. Well, excuse me, but there was 2 people there other than us, and the money disappeared. Your mom was caught in my car. I kind of sort of figure that she's the one that took it. If she didn't, you did. And at the time, my friend, former friend, seemed really nice, and I never would have thought that she would have done it. I was sure her mom had, and maybe she did. She probably did. But now, years later, her mom is gone, and I'm seeing her act more and more like her mom did. She's drinking. She's a mean drunk. Mean. I really got to wonder who was worse, her or mom, when it comes to drinking and getting mean. But her and her mom, they used to have arguments. And they would actually have knockdown, drag-out fistfights on the ground, rolling around, hitting each other. I'd never in my life seen or heard of such a thing. My mom and I, we were good friends. We were best friends. We got along great. Once in a while, we kind of, we'd argue about something, and then we just wouldn't talk for the day or a couple of days, and then it was just, boom, all gone, all better, and we were good friends again, There's no yelling, screaming, getting nasty, but not the case with these 2. And back when my mom died, I told my former friend, about how I was crying a lot because I missed her. She was like one of my best friends, if not, probably my best friend, And I said how I was crying and stuff. She yelled at me that I needed to quit crying, that I was ruining Josh because I was crying in front of him. And it's like, no. He understands because he misses her too, and if I didn't cry, then he would have to wonder if I really cared about her, And he's grown up to be a fine man, so I really don't see that I ruined him. But I told her, I said, you don't understand. Well, lo and behold, her mom's gone, and now she likes to say, oh, they were best friends, and they got along so good, and she misses her so much. Best friends? You guys used to hit each other and argue, loud, screaming, arguing. Matter of fact, she seems to like arguing because she treats her boyfriend so bad. And I'm telling you, the drama, the tension. Right after we get there, it's like she starts screaming at him about this, and then she probably was before we even got there. But, the whole neighborhood has to hear it. It stresses me out. But then again, like I said, we're in a position where since I can't work and we need the money and everything, and her boyfriend needs the help. He's got some health issues himself. And so hate to have where he has to try and do things by himself because she don't help. He's paid her way for, I don't know, like 13 to 15 years. She hasn't had to work. He pays for everything. He takes really good care of her. And he has talked before numerous times about he works all week, hard, lots of hours. And he comes home and he's got to either make the food or he's got to like sweep the floor and clean things up, wash the dishes. He's got to wash clothes. It's like, seriously, she doesn't work. Why isn't she doing some of these things? Oh, that's right, because her big thing is that her shoulder hurts. Well, she's been saying that one for years. She's been in and had 2 surgeries on it. Now she's trying to say she's got to go and have another surgery on it. And frankly, I don't really believe it. I think a lot of it's just talk so that she won't have to do anything. Because when we're over there, he's always saying about, oh, she's in pain and she can't do anything. But yet, when he's on the other side of the trailer, she comes running over and sits down in a chair by the barn. And then she'll jump up and she'll run across the yard. And I don't see that she's having any kind of issues. She tries to tell me that, oh, she's got problems too. That she's worse off than I am. Now, see, when Josh was little, it was the spring, and Josh wanted to go for a walk. And it's like, oh, it's a nice day. Okay, let's do that. Well, we went walking on the road, and I'm telling you, I think I found the only dang icy spot left in the road, because I fell, and I fell hard. And Josh was little, and he started laughing. Here I am laying on my back, and he started laughing. He's like, Mom, it's just like in the movies, where the feet go out from under them and they go falling on the ground. I was like, Josh, it's not funny, because we were probably about a mile from home, half mile to a mile. Yeah. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to get up, let alone actually walk back home. And it was so bad that the next day I had my aunt take me up to the doctor's office, and she was laughing because I could barely walk. Well, come to find out, I broke my coccyx, and I have sciatica because of it, or I had it. Anyway, so it bothers sometimes, and I have a really hard time with it. But when I found out I had that, and I told her, mind you, this was years ago, she had no idea what I was talking about. She didn't know what it was. Well, now her thing is, oh, she's got sciatica, and she's had it longer than I have, and she's got it worse than I ever had it. It's like, seriously, you didn't even know what it was when I told you I had it. She will sit there, and once or twice, and this is, we've been over there a lot. Once or twice, I've heard her go, oh, it hurts. It's like, seriously? If you were really in pain, I don't see you doing like that. Because when I was in the hospital, have Josh, oh my God, these women all up and down the hall were screaming bloody murder because they were in labor and it hurt. Well, I was in labor, and it had been quite a while before my doctor made me take this medicine to stop the labor, but we'll go into that another time. But anyway, so then I was in labor again, and yeah, the pain was bad, but I just barely made any noise, if any. And yet she's trying to tell me that, oh, she's in so much pain. Like, I have a fairly high pain tolerance. Not that I'm happy about that, but when I'm putting up with this neuropathy and everything, I guess it comes in handy, because I don't know how I'd be able to make it if I didn't have where I could put up with it as much as I do. Because I refuse to take pain medicine, because I've heard bad things, and I've heard of people being addicted, and I don't want to get addicted. So, anyway, so she and her mom, the way they got along and everything, and her mom stole from us, and yet I didn't blame her, because she was nothing like her mom, and her mom had been caught in my car, so I figured it was her mom that did it. And if she couldn't get the money back, I wasn't happy about it, but what's she going to do? I couldn't blame her for something that her mom had done, because I didn't feel that would be right. So we stayed friends, but now she's acting just like her mom. she drinks and she gets so nasty and she lies and she just gets in your face trying to start arguments and stuff and just terrible. And when her mom was still here at the last, they had done some testing and she was telling me, my former friend, was telling me that, oh, her mom had been diagnosed as bipolar and she knew she wasn't bipolar. And it's like, well, we had some experience, and I'll go into that another time, but I looked at how her mom was, and it's like, yeah, she's got all the symptoms. And if she's diagnosed, I'm sure she's got it, you know. Well, lo and behold, she's insisting her mom didn't have it, but I think she's got it because of how she's been. And I think that with her drinking and whatever else she may be doing, because there's times she's got to be doing more than just drinking when she gets to where she stutters. She can't hardly talk. And that's been like at least 2 or 3 times in the recent couple of months that I've seen where she's like that. And we're not there all the time, so you can imagine how she probably is. But I'm figuring she's bipolar too. Which if she didn't self-medicate, if she went and got on the proper medication, she might not be so bad. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to upset bipolar people, but I've not had some very good experiences with some bipolar people. And we had somebody, we were friends with her and her son, and they delivered papers too. And they had a problem with their car, so Josh helped them. He's always, since he was little, he's done the work on our vehicles, and believe you me, when we've been almost 8 years of doing routes, he's done a lot of repairs for us. He's learned on all different types of vehicles, and he's really great. And because of the fact that they just delivered papers, they didn't have much money, he did it fairly cheap, you know, just to help cover a little bit of his expenses or whatever. But she was bipolar, and she said she'd been really bad, but that she was on medication, and she seemed fine. Other than, at one point, it was in the winter, it was nasty, it was so nasty, and we had helped them with their vehicle so that they could do their route, and so they ended up being late, and we ended up being late, but I explained to the DM what had happened, and he was wanting to fire me. Luckily, Joe's dad, he delivered papers, and he talked to the head one, and he got it all straightened out, and we didn't lose our job. But we came really close because we helped them. Well, at another time, they had the same vehicle that we did, and, one of the vehicles we did, but we had parked it because it needed to have some work done on it. We didn't really have time right then, but I was getting the parts that we needed for it so that it'd be all set for Josh to be able to put the parts on it. And come to find out, their car needed the same parts. Well, since ours was just sitting there, I said, okay, I'll let you use my parts if you just go ahead and pay us back for them so that I can get the same parts for ours, and hopefully the price will be about the same, you know. Well, lo and behold, they went ahead and they got a different vehicle. After Josh had done all that work on it, they got a different vehicle, and they went and junked their car, never paid me anything for all my parts that they had gotten put on it, never gave them back, never even offered that, hey, we could have the car or we could have it really cheap because we had, you know, all those parts on it. Oh, heck, even just to get our parts off, and then they could go ahead and junk it. You know, I mean, something. But they never paid us back. Never even paid Josh for doing all that work at that point. And we never got my parts back. So we've not had real good experiences with bipolar people. And I am really sorry. If you're bipolar and you're on medication, you're probably a lot better than what we've had to deal with. But years ago, we went and we babysat for these 5 kids. And it was just down the road. It was very close. It was very convenient. We just watched them on the weekend. So it all worked out nice. And then once in a while in the week, if they went out to dinner or something, wanted to go by themselves, we went and watched the kids for a few hours. And that was it. And then the kids, sometimes they would have friends over during the weekend. And I'd end up watching a lot more than 5 at any given time. And I only got paid for watching the 5. But their one son, we believed that he was bipolar and kept trying to tell the parents that there was something wrong. They needed to get him checked out. They needed to do something because they had a niece that they had taken in and they were watching her. I'm not sure if they actually adopted her or not, but she lived there. And he had big problems with her. And she was just a tiny little thing and very sweet and loving. But I think maybe because he thought that she was taking parents' time away from him, that he got upset because he would just all of a sudden come flying in the room and shove her. And which was very stressful because I'm trying to keep the kids all safe, and I kept talking to the parents and they wouldn't listen. At one point, the kids had some friends over and we were there, and that kid got upset about something. I don't even remember if he ever said what it was. But he actually reached into the silverware drawer and was getting out a sharp knife. And to stop him, I got cut. And when they got home, I explained to them what had happened. And they said, oh, it'll never happen again. Well, lo and behold, for a while there after that, when we would go down there, he would get agitated and act like he was going to get in the drawer. So we started putting the sharp knives up on top of the refrigerator, figuring at least that would slow him down. And then, he wouldn't be able to hurt anybody because we could stop him in time. And his mom would get so upset. Usually we would remember and put him back in the silverware drawer. But I think there was once or twice we forgot, and she got all bent out of shape really bad. Got nasty. Well, lo and behold, seems to be a bad habit. When we have people tell us we're family, then all of a sudden they seem to screw us over and treat us bad. And that's what this family did. They said we were family. And then right before, and I believe it was right before Thanksgiving, thinking on it, which is funny because of what just happened because that woman T-boned us. But she called up, and I can't remember if we were already to bed or we were getting into bed. And she called and she said, oh, they didn't need us this weekend, that she didn't have to work after all. It's like, okay. We had the holidays coming and we had property tax we had to pay on. But it's like, all right. So we figured that, the next weekend. Well, the next weekend, last minute, she called and let me know that they didn't need us anymore. That she was firing us. She had said a little bit before this that the boy was saying wild stories, things going on. And I tried to get her to tell me what, and she wouldn't tell me. And I said, well, there's nothing going on other than how he's, coming in and shoving her. But other than that, everything is fine. But she must have believed whatever he was telling her. And lo and behold, maybe that has to do with bipolar, the whole wild stories thing or something. I don't know. But anyway, so we lost our job. And money was really tight. And we came close to losing our place. But luckily it all worked out. Unlike this, with the woman T-boning us, I didn't have the money to pay the past due property tax. And so they're talking about that they could take it and sell it this next year if we don't get it paid. And at this point, I've been told it's probably like $3,000 or something that going to have to pay in order to keep our home. And since I can't work and we're barely struggling by, I'm praying that somebody will help us. Because it's very stressful how I am anyway, but then to be worried about, that. But anyway, so the whole bipolar thing, I'm thinking that that's probably what her problem is, because it seemed like the kids that we babysat, that their mother and that boy were a lot alike. And Josh and I have been wondering if bipolar runs in the family. I don't know. But I would kind of think so because of how we've seen And then how the former friend is, and how her mom was. Her mom was diagnosed. I'm sure if I told her that she had it, she would deny it all over the place because of the fact she denied that her mom was bipolar and she was actually diagnosed. But I'm figuring that that's why she drinks and whatever else she does, that she's self-medicating. I don't know. I wish that she would get on the medication she needs and be better. Anyway, I just want people to understand why we keep going over there, because yeah, it's easy enough. I have people say on Facebook, well, you need to quit that job. You need to get away from her. Well, when we're there, I sit in the van if I can, if it's not too hot, and I lock the doors so I'm safe. And if it's too warm, I'll sit out under the awning of the barn and have the fan going, and I have my pepper spray on. And like I said before, I don't really want to have to use it, but I got to have something I can protect myself because of how she just opened my door and punched me. I mean, she told me she was going to give me a hug, and she opened my door and she punched me. Big difference between a hug and punching somebody. So I don't trust her. And then to have where she's stealing or trying to steal food from us, and I can't remember if I told you, she busted my rear view mirror when she hit it, but yeah. So, and she's fussing how she was hungry, and it's like, well, she was supposed to make the food, and if she'd done that, we would all been eating, and she wouldn't have been hungry. And then, too, I was talking with somebody on Facebook, and I said, I would never do that, to get into somebody's vehicle and steal food from them at all, but especially if I knew that they were barely scraping by, barely had enough food for them. And that, if anything, if the situations were reversed, I'd be more like to open the door and put a box of food in there and maybe a couple rolls of toilet paper, and if we had the money, even like a gift card, so that if I didn't know what she could have to eat, because if she was the one with the diabetes, that way she could get some things that she could have. But years ago when we gave her a box of food because she didn't have food, we gave her a box with food, and I think it was 2 rolls of toilet paper, and yet, come to find out, she was giving the food to the animals and wasn't eating it. It's like we could barely get by, and we were trying to help her out, and she was doing that. So we never did it again. I don't know. I just, like, when we were going over there years ago, and we would take food because she didn't have much, and like we would grill out, but it got to the point that we were taking extra so that it was done. So when we got home, we'd have it to snack on, or just warm it up, eat it cold, whatever, and we would have for like another meal or so. Well, she saw all that food, and she started just grabbing it and throwing it to the animals. It's like, hey, I'm not feeding that stuff to my animals. That's for us to have for later. And so we quit taking food over there. So I know some of it seems like it's been an ongoing thing, but I thought that she was one of my best friends, and I thought that she was like a sister to me, and, families don't always get along. Believe you me, I know that. So I tried not to find fault with everything, just deal with things as they came, not realizing it was going to get to this point like this. But then again, how we are, how I am, I can't work, and Josh has got to have something that I can go with him because I can't be here by myself, and we can't afford to pay anybody else. And frankly, I wouldn't trust anybody else. I had family that actually came in my home and stole from me. So, that's a whole other story. But then again, anyway, so recently I was thinking, and I got to talking to my friends on Facebook, and I said about, my wedding. I got married 4 days before I turned 18, and it wasn't that I had to. It was because it was my dad's birthday. My dad was killed in a car accident when I was a baby, and so thought it would be nice to get married on his birthday, and didn't want to have to wait an extra year. So I had one of my best friends in my wedding, and I had a couple of my relatives in my wedding. And I said, I don't know if it's that these relationships were doomed before the wedding, or if it was the wedding had something to do with it. I don't know. But all I know is the one former friend from back then that was in the wedding, that's a whole nother story too. But anyway, she got really nasty, and before I had a chance to defend myself, she went and she unfriended and blocked me, and I've seen or heard nothing from her in years, and I don't miss her because of how she's been. She still owes me money, which would sure the heck come in handy right now, but since I haven't seen it all these years, I highly doubt that I'm ever going to. So the heck with her. I mean, one way or another, we'll get by, and I want nothing to do with her. Then I got a cousin that was in my wedding that I don't understand why, if we just lost touch or what. But in recent years, I had sent her a friend request and she didn't okay it. So I don't know if she didn't see it or if she's upset about something. I can't do anything if I don't know what the problem is. And then the girl that I had as my flower girl, she's always had a crush on my then husband, who I was marrying. But little did I know, because she was so much younger, that at one point before the divorce, if I remember correctly, she actually had an affair with him, because I was told that she was sleeping with him. Plus, at that point, he was living, I think it was like 2 to 3 hours from here, and worked quite a bit. And yet, on his time off, he was up here in my town staying at her house. So that just seemed really odd. So I don't really have any relation